bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum. Hello, my friends. Good evening. Monday night. Here we are together again, as we should be. Hi ho, Silver, and away we go. My friends, my name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here for you every Monday night, whether we need to or not. And we do one thing and one thing only, and that is I talk to you about homeopathy. I teach you what I know, and I think you help each other. And I like to hear that, I like to see the community coming in. It is a very, encouraging thing to see. There was a time, as I've said before, when I would be talking about homeopathy back in the 80s and the 90s and even the early 2000s, and no one was listening. People's eyes would glaze over. And I'll tell you one of my mistakes later on. We'll go over that for a moment. But that's what we're doing tonight. And for those of you who already know me, welcome, my friends. It's great to see you. I'd love to see those of you who are new, and I'd like to see where you're coming from, because there's Deb from the coast of New Australia. Hello from DC. I used to live in DC. I love DC. I mean, DC's though kind of changed a lot, but it's still an incredibly gorgeous city. Hello from Naples. Hi, everyone. Lori, good morning from Western Australia. There's Tara. We have a lot of Australians coming in. Brits too, a lot of Canadians, but really a lot of Australians, which is really fascinating to me. It seems to me that Australia is really crushing it with homeopathy. I love to see it. Hi, Bonnie from Michigan, and Leanne. Hi, Leanne. Great to see everyone. Hello, friends. Where are you, Harry? You're supposed to be here. Leanne's from coastal North Carolina. Cindy from T-Storm, Central Florida. Yeah, it's really great. Hi, Buffy. Great name. Franca. Let's see if we can find some people. It's really fun. Arizona, Wisconsin, Ontario. Hello, Sylvia. Santiago, Dominican Republic. Very nice. Another one from Ontario, Michigan, Florida, sunny Florida, Arizona. Love it. Montreal, Montana. Great to see you all. Humid Georgia. I'll bet it's humid. Pennsylvania, Texas. All right. Another one, South Florida. Beautiful. Wallaroo Plains, South Australia. Fourth time. Welcome, Andrea. Welcome. I'd love to see you. An old timer from the first year of the academy is Mindy. Hi, Mindy. All right, friends, let's get going. Let's talk about it, because here, at this time of the summer, here in this hemisphere, it's summer and it's warm and people are in the pool. And I love to swim. I will tell you, one year, 2021, I think it was, I had been swimming in the ocean in South Florida, where I live, and I was swimming a mile every day in the ocean. It was fabulous. I felt great. It was wonderful. And then they locked down the beaches. And the police came, two police officers, people, came to the beach and yelled out to me with their whistle, hey, get off the beach. And I'm doing the side stroke. And I said, I'm not on the beach, no problem. She said, the beach is closed. I said, I got it. And I just kept swimming, because I wasn't on the beach. I was in the water. And I was enough of a distance out that I couldn't stand, so I wasn't really on the beach. And she said, you've got to come back in. I said, not on the beach. I was going to be defiant about it. It was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. And I know DeSantis got all kinds of accolades with how he handled Florida, but he wasn't so great in the beginning. And Palm Beach County certainly wasn't. Those commissioners were really enjoying the power that they were experiencing at the time. Nothing ever happened when the police finally left, because I just kept swimming. What were they going to do? Go in the water and get me? I suppose they could have gone in the water and gotten me, and I could have been arrested, I suppose. And I would have been proud, my friends, to have been arrested for having been swimming in the water. There, at that time, a 70-year-old woman picked up on swimming. So then some things changed in the water. There were a lot of jellyfish, and I didn't want to get stung. Not the jellyfish don't really bother me, but it was really the Portuguese man o' war. So that kind of broke me of the habit, and then I started to swim in the pool, and I hate the pool because it's chlorine. So what I did at first was I thought about using a remedy, and I have it right here. I'm going to talk to you about it tonight, right here in the repertory. That's Robin Murphy's 4th edition of the Meta Repertory. I know that this medicine exists, but first I'm going to tell you what I did, because when I can, my friends, I know this might seem contrary to the way you must think that I live, or that perhaps you are living. I would rather not use homeopathic medicines too readily. I like to change my lifestyle and see what I need to do to adjust to whatever is going on in my life. See if I can change the diet, change the routine, and kind of fine tune it that way before I start thinking about taking a homeopathic medicine. So what I did is I slathered coconut oil. One day I did coconut oil from head to toe, all over my entire body. And hoping that the chlorine would not absorb in my skin in the pool. And then another time I did the same thing with tallow, or was it lard? It was tallow or lard, I don't remember. And I don't know if I made a ring around the pool. It's not a heated pool anyway. I don't even know if it would have melted. And it did help a little bit. And what I mean by help is that I can always smell. I don't get sick from chlorine, but I can smell it on my skin, regardless of how much I shower and scrub and shower. And I don't want that smell on my skin. I don't want it in my hair, and I don't want it on my skin. So after that time, I started to use the homeopathic medicine Natrum muriaticum. Natmur, 6X. I used it in a 6X. It's a little cell salt. What I mean by little is that it's a low potency. And I used that. And it didn't help too much with I have a very intense sense of smell. And it helped a little bit, but I wasn't so sure. Then, and I have not used anything since, but I've had people report to me that they have been using another medicine, another homeopathic medicine. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing. As I said, I'm in Robin Murphy's Meta Repertory, 4th edition, and I'm on page 2151 for those of you who are my students. And love to see you here. Phoenicia, I see you. Hi. Leanne, yes. Elizabeth, hi. And so I'm on page 2151, and at the bottom right, third from the bottom, there is a rubric that's chlorine. That's what it's under the clinical section. It says chlorine. Ailments from. Now, I don't know that I would say that I actually had ailments from it, other than I found the smell annoying. And I guess that's an ailment. I've never used it. Tell me if you have. I want to know from you, my friends, what you have used. But the main medicine, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 medicines there. And that's a very small number of medicines from which to choose. The main medicine, the one that is the most noteworthy, is chlorine. That's the medicine. Chlorine, homeopathic chlorine. Or chlorinum, chlorinum, spelled chlorinum, chlorinum. Now, I've heard that some people are using chlorinum. I don't know what potency. I would personally, if it were me, I would use it in a 30th potency. So if you go online and you look for chlorinum 30, you will find that SBL carries it. I trust SBL. I hope we can trust Amazon that it is indeed SBL. I've been purchasing SBL homeopathic medicines from time to time on Amazon, and I've not been disappointed. They seem to be fine. So we'll start with that idea. Now, if I were to use it now, I would use it in advance of going into the pool. I would take it, say, half an hour before going in, and then upon getting out, and then perhaps that night, after shampooing and scrubbing and washing off as much as I could get off. And then I might take it twice a day for another day and see what comes of it. Now, if I noticed that night, when I smelled my arm, the smell was not as bothersome to me, then I would say it's probably acting. The next day, if I took it again, I would smell my arm again. This is where I always check is on my arm near my wrist. And I would know after a while that it was not as bothersome to me. Now, does this mean that the chlorine is not in my system, or does it mean that my senses are not experiencing it? Well, let me put it to you this way, friends. If it's not bothering me, that means the medicine is acting. If the medicine is acting, then I consider the job complete, regardless of how and exactly how it's acting. Now, if I were to react to this medicine, to this chlorine in the pool, and it was bothering me, my eyes maybe would get a little swollen or sore or red. You know that people have red eyes after swimming in a chlorinated pool. I might use chlorinum 30, and I would add histaminum because it's a reaction to it. Now, histaminum is not presented here. It's not shown in this rubric. But I have suggested that to clients, and histaminum is a great medicine for any time there's a reaction, a histamine reaction that is that can be calmed down with if the histamine reaction. Let me put it differently. I've used histaminum for conditions in which the histamine levels are too intense and the person needs to have it calmed down. Then we use the homeopathic method of histaminum 30 or histaminum 6, either one of those. I don't know that I would use it much higher, and it calms things down. Now, I've also, as I said, used Napmir, but when I look in this rubric, if someone reacts more definitively than just, the smell is bothersome, or the eyes are red, bloodshot, or the skin is too dry, or something's going on that's kind of like a reaction, then we look here and look at these other medicines that we could consider. One of the big ones here that's really important is if you were to see someone, know someone who is so sensitive to chemicals, so sensitive, and there are people like this, I know them, I've worked with them, that they could even get very sick from being in a pool or being around a pool, maybe even collapsing, maybe even having being breathless. Then we would consider another medicine that is in this rubric called ammonium carbonicum. Now, let me say, ammonium carbonicum, my friends, is not just for chlorine, ailments from chlorine. It's from ailments from formaldehyde or other kinds of what do I want to say? Exposures. Now, I'm not talking about a little formaldehyde. I'm talking about someone who's working in a factory, working in a setting, let's say a university where they are working with formaldehyde in the laboratories. I've actually known of a case like that, and the person passed out and was incoherent on and off, in and out of it for hours. And the only medicine that jarred her out of it was ammonium carbonicum. Ammonium carbonicum is also useful. I want to stretch this one out a little bit more because I want you to understand how incredibly valuable some of these medicines can be. Someone gets a bee sting and they go into anaphylaxis. Yes, if you know homeopathy, if you've been in my classes, we always think of ledum or apis, right? But what if it's extreme anaphylaxis and the apis or ledum are not acting, and you know that this person is one of those who is apt to react in a very intense way? Histamine might not touch it either. But if they're collapsing and you're on the way to the emergency room, you want to make sure that you own this medicine, ammonium carbonicum, not only for chlorine reactions, but for many other chemical type reactions or anaphylaxis reactions. Now, before you purchase this medicine, ammonium carbonicum, I want you to read up on it. Before you purchase natrum muriaticum, NatMur, I want you to read up on it. I want you to read up on these medicines and know them. What I'm giving you tonight is not a protocol. It's just my thoughts, it's a little experience in this realm, especially with ammonium carbonicum, and some of these other, and my personal experience with NatMur. Now, there are other medicines. Antimonium tart, an excellent medicine for difficulty in breathing. If the person has difficulty breathing after having been around chlorine, whether it was in a recreational setting, such as a pool, or chlorine in an industrial setting, and they have difficulty breathing, or they go into asthma, etc., it's antimonium tart. See how I'm picking it apart. But if we're talking about simply swimming in a pool, that if for a person who's pretty comfortable with being in a pool, maybe you want your children to be able to get into pools and not worry about it. In that case, I personally now would consider either natrum muriaticum, NatMur, or chlorinum. One of those two. Just have the others on hand. Let's see what everybody's talking about. I'd like to hear your experiences, friends. Fernisha is saying, yes, thank you. Ammonium carbonicum, good. Just had a bee sting a week ago, says Lisa. Yep. Now, all of this depends on the severity of the reaction, the severity of the condition, the severity of the suffering. Okay. Beth says, is it chlorinum? It's chlorum on Helios says chlorine gas. Yes. It's really, it's not the liquid chlorine, but it is a gaseous substance once it gets into the water and it gets into the air. Let's see what else we've got here. Okay. I'm seeing all these people connecting, which is great. Wow. So it isn't even Monday. Okay. I always have a hard time wrapping my head around the difference of time and zones. Elizabeth's responding to those in Australia because there are a bunch of people from Australia. Love it. Love it. Oh, is it still, you can't hear me so well? Someone just said speak more closely into that, into the microphone. We have an ionization system on our pool, no chemicals. It's great. Brilliant, Linda. I know. It's not my pool that I live near. It's a small community. It's 6 units, and it's considered a public pool, believe it or not. And because it's public, we are subject to many more rules. Boy, if it were my own pool, let's see. Elizabeth says, I wonder if coconut or tallow would keep the sunburns off a little or not. No, I like Sol for sunburns. SOL, the remedy Sol. Sol 200, I've actually written about it. Okay. Let's see what else we've got here. Chlorinum. Yeah, here we go. OHM carries chlorinum. Thank you, Carrie in Texas. OHM Pharma. Now, if you're a student or past student of mine or a client of mine, you can order from OHM in Texas. Otherwise, you'd have to go to either Amazon or to Helios to find that. Now, there may be other places too, so poke around. Let's see what else we've got. Uranus also has it as well. Good. URENUS, I think. We just went through 3 weeks of our city water being so highly chlorinated that I would feel sick just washing the dishes and use bottled water to wash my face cold. I have just chlorine to help me. I have used chlorinum to help me through it. Could I have used? Yes, you could have used it. Absolutely. It was making you sick. Yeah, this is the medicine that I can't guarantee, but this is the way homeopathy works. I felt poisoned via inhalation, so I treated the symptoms. You can also do that, Leanne. Thank you very much. You can use the symptoms to determine. So that's why I mentioned antimonium tart, because the symptom for antimonium tart is breathlessness. Let's say there was nausea. Then we might use, let's look at some others here. We might use arsenicum, or we might use ipecac. That's not even mentioned here. Or if there's cramping in the legs or the hands, or shaking, or even seizures, we would use cuprum, because here it is. It's listed right here in this rubric. Then there's opium, which is another great medicine that is, no, it's not opium, my friends. This is homeopathic. It's much different. And that is specific for if the person loses consciousness. And then what's another important one? Mercurius, if there's excessive salivation and there's a funny taste in the mouth, and maybe there's the throat is getting sore, and the teeth and the mouth, and this whole area becomes a problem. We might consider that as well. Oh, there's Harry. Hi, Harry. What's that? Okay, we've got a lot of new viewers that are coming in, I can see right now. And welcome to those who have just joined us. And we're going to, if you missed the important aspects of tonight, just know that it will be up tonight. You'll be able to watch the rest of it later. We're talking about the homeopathic medicines that we use to protect against as a prophylactic before going into a pool, or in reaction to having been in a chlorinated pool. All right. Karen says, Joette, what about using chlorinum if you swim almost every day in the summer in chlorine, just because we know it's bad for us? It's a great question, Karen. Here's the thing with using homeopathic medicines prophylactically when there are no symptoms. Let's start with this. Let's put that idea aside for a moment. If there are symptoms, then we're going to use the symptoms to determine what to use, what homeopathic medicine to use. If there are no symptoms, you're not bothered by the smell. It doesn't, when I say I'm bothered by the smell of chlorine on my hands and my arms, it doesn't make me sick. I find it irksome, bothersome. If that doesn't bother you, then instead what I would consider doing is I would not consider using chlorinum every single day. I might use it, say, every 3 days or every 7 days, and then see how things go. And what I mean by that is if you use a homeopathic medicine and it's superfluous, it's unnecessary, it will cause the potential of approving. Now, that's not, people are very afraid of provings. Don't be afraid of provings, my friends. Just approving means that the medicine is causing, because it's not needed, it's causing some of the symptoms that the medicine was intended to soften or correct. And if you see that, you simply halt its use. That's all we do. We just stop using it. Generally speaking, that's the way we do it. Now, that brings me to one other thought, and that is we use camphora or camphor 200C to antidote ailments from drugs, ailments from previously used homeopathic medicines that may have not been right. We use camphor or camphora 200C, 1 dose 1 day. That is another possibility here. Not only could we use it in 200 potency if there is a need to antidote what was happening after having been in the pool, but that could even potentially be used just before going in the pool from time to time. Again, maybe every 3 days, maybe once a week, and see how things go. And you know what? What I would love is for you to get back to us in a week or 2 weeks when you get a hold of these medicines and you decide you're going to use them, and then share with us. Anyone here who's in on this tonight, let me know. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what happens with how you approach this. That's from Karen. Karen, I'd love to hear from you. We all would. This is how we learn. Let's see what else we've got. Can Namur or chlorinum be used prophylactically for toddlers and babies? Well, that's what we're just talking about. Whether it's an adult, a toddler, or a baby, Yeah, I'd be more likely to use something maybe like Natmure and not use it. Listen, if the baby's in the pool every day, now we're talking about something that's a little different. As I said, maybe every 3 days it's used. But if the baby's in the pool only for a day and then a week later another day, then I think it would be acceptable to use these medicines prophylactically, a dose before going into the pool. Would you do anything if you generally don't have issues when swimming in a chlorine pool, but you still have exposure? All right. I just answered that. Okay, you can hear me well. Okay, that's a little better. I'll try to remember to get closer. We use copper ions, not chlorine or bromine. That's beautiful, Melissa. Copper ions. It's so simple. We do live in 2026. I mean, these chlorinated pools, what are we, like 1965 for crying out loud? Yeah, copper ions. Beautiful. And we can hear you better now. Good. Audio is good. Good. Sol 200, Phoenicia. Oh, Jennifer says prophylactic Sol 200, that's a homeopathic medicine, my friends. Sol, S-O-L, is amazing for sunburning. Yes, it is. No sunscreen, friends. We don't want those chemicals on our skin. We want the vitamin D too. We want to be prudent. I don't burn very readily. I have olive skin, but I grew up in a neighborhood where most of my friends were Irish, and they had light skin. My husband is very light-skinned. He does not wear screen. He does not do that. And he has not worn it, I don't know, for as long as I've known him. I've known him at least 40 years. 45 years, and he's never worn sunscreen. And he is a semi-professional sailor. He's been on boats all of his life. So I have to say that I think that the burning of the sun is when it actually burns and it causes trauma is what we have to be concerned about. But I have a hard time believing that a sunburn from 1970 causes cancer in 2026. I don't think so. But a sunburn 2 months ago that was extreme could indeed cause trouble. But not if you know homeopathy, not if you're using Sol 200, not if you're using Cantharis for a burn, or belladonna, depending on how bad the burn is. And I truly believe, my friends, that issues on the skin come from the gut, not for what was put up in the sky. It comes from the gut. If we're eating the correct foods, that is loaded with vitamin A, D, and E, butter, tallow, beef, lamb, eggs with the yolks on a regular basis, and fill up on those high nutrient foods, seafood, fish, all of those kinds of foods. If we fill up on those and not fill up on vegetables, vegetables are fine. What we really want to focus on are those foods that are loaded with vitamin A, D, and E. Okay. Yes, says Beth. Sunglasses are not good for our eyes or body. It's programming to keep us sick. Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I think sunglasses look really great. I never wear them. I don't wear them. I have a pair. I just thought, well, maybe. No. Because sometimes I'm out on the water in a boat and I want to protect they feel worse on than they do off. So I just don't ever wear them. Can anyone please tell me how many pellets is a dose in IOHM remedies? It should be written on the bottle. Sometimes the pharmacies don't write it on the bottle, and then we should have it in the directive. But in general, if you know how many pills are equal a dose in boron, it's 4 to 5 pills. They look like those little pill boxes. And you use the approximate equivalent to that, even if the pills are teeny tiny seed-sized pills, it's about the same. Everything's all about the same. So if you get 4 pills of the big puffy ones compared to maybe 15 of the little tiny ones, that's about a dose. Leanne says, yes, Beth, no sunscreen or sunglasses for over 3 years and no sunburn. Good going, Leanne. My daughter took Sol for sunburn and it got a strange feeling like her body was heating burning from the inside out. Maybe she needed cantharis instead. Well, it depends on what you mean by she took it. Did she take one dose? Did she take it after a sunburn? Did she take it before? Did she take it days after? So really, frequency matters too. Okay, Beth, usually 3 to 5 pills is a dose, says Elizabeth. Okay. All righty. Arsenicum 200 was great for a rash after swimming in chlorinated pool. There you go. And then for my son, after chlorine gas exposed, knocked him out upon opening a can of chlorine tablets. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that can happen. You got to be careful, those chlorine tablets. And we do need them for air conditioning units often. We have good success with 3 pellets, says Leah. Or Lila. Okay. The eyes are sensors for the skin and the melanin production. If you cover the sensor, the message never is received, says Leanne. If you cover your fuel sensor light in your car, the same thing will happen. That's so fascinating. That's a great way of putting it. It's Elizabeth. Okay. Oh my goodness. 8:31. I'm going to my mighties, my friends. I want to just remind you that for those of you who are, we've officially closed the academy for the class of 2027, but some people are still joining in. I heard 2 more joined today. So should you be interested, you go to Academy of Practical Homeopathy, and you'll see exactly what you need to do. Join the founders. And just join the founders. Let's go scroll down and join the founders. And so I just want to say a special hello to Janet, because she just joined. I think she just joined today or yesterday or something. So hi, Janet. We got a little message from her. All right, my friends. For those of you who are my mighties, stay here. For those who are not, if my team could put in the link as to how to get into mighties, how to join mighties, please do that. And for those who have missed this information tonight, it will be posted probably in a few hours tonight. Usually within 2 hours, it's posted. All right, my friends, we're going to mighties. See you in a little while.